This episode of Minor Obsession is brought to you by the UNC Charlotte Bell College of Business, North Carolina's urban research business school. As alumni of Bell College ourselves, we encourage you to visit bellcollege.uncc.edu and learn how Charlotte's business school can inspire your career path. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Minor Obsession. And it's been a minute since we've been able to talk about sports, pretty much since the pandemic started 6 months ago. And it's really exciting to finally have that moment to talk about sports, talk about football, the creme de la creme. Coming off a bowl season, this is our year. Really interesting schedule. Sean, how pumped are you right now?
Ecstatic, I think, is the best word I can use to describe it. It's been almost 7 months since the last time we actually had a real sporting event to preview for us. The spring sports ended abruptly. Women's basketball, men's basketball ended abruptly. And Minor Obsession's great content ended abruptly. We've tried to survive off of some cool stuff like the Bold Rush coming out or Mike Hill being around to talk to us for the last couple months. So appreciate you sticking with us, but we finally have some real sports to talk about. Just one for the first few months, football, but it's one a lot of people care about, and it's one, like you said, that I think is going to be a really good season for us, despite some of the Conference USA preseason polls.
Yeah, so what we're gonna do here is we're gonna riff a little bit, talk about the roster and kind of Sean's hot takes and my hot takes of what to expect. Then we'll do a little preview of the app game that's coming up this Saturday to kick off the season, and then we'll look at the rest of the season and kind of what that outlook looks like. So should be a good, fun-packed 30 minutes or so for all of you on your walks, your drives to work maybe now to get ready for the season for that 12 o'clock kickoff Saturday at App.
Oh, man. App to start the season, Chapel Hill next in the season. Man, it's exciting.
It's going to be fun / it might not be great for our record, but who knows? Like last year when we played App, there wasn't a lot expected, and we'll talk about the line as well for this game compared to last year and all that good stuff. So, but first, let's talk about the team, Sean. Pretty good group. Not too many people left as seniors. Got a good young core coming up. Let's start on the defensive end with our favorite, Marcus, leading that crew.
Marcus West, the defensive coordinator for the Charlotte 49ers, has a really good returning core with some key pieces that missed last year, being able to come back and provide some veteran leadership and some good young talent that Healy brought in his first year and just before his first year recruiting-wise. I really think this is a big chance for the defense to take a step forward. Not that it wasn't solid last year, but there were obviously some holes we were working with and, had some injuries along the way. This year, we're primed, we're healthy. We obviously lost Alex Highsmith to the NFL, but good luck with the Steelers. Defense as a whole, though, I'm liking it. So up front, we have some returners here. We've got Marquise Watts, Timmy Horn in the middle, and then Tyreek Harris, who was injured with some back problems all last year, coming back on the right end to help fill that hole with Alex Highsmith being gone. We've got a couple good transfers coming in too, CSAO and Rashad Roddy, along with some other depth there. I really feel like the front is going to hurt not having Alex around, but we still have Timmy making the big push up the middle. We've got Tyreek on the edge now to go on the opposite of Watts, and I feel like we're not going to miss a beat on that front. I'm pretty happy about that. From a linebacker front, we obviously have Jalen Sharp still around. We've got Luke Martin coming in this year. We've got Tyler Murray. And linebacker, obviously, as you know, we do a lot of nickel packages, so not a ton of linebacker on the field, one or two most of the time, and then we're running with nickels and corners all over the place. So excited to see what the middle of the field does. Hearing Luke Martin maybe the play caller for us, which would be good to have some veteran leadership out there being able to do play calling, get the defense set up and all of that stuff. And then on to the secondary. So secondary-wise, we've got some good returners here as well. Pretty solid core still around, and a few faces who were around last year getting a chance to play, like Lance McMillan. We're obviously a big fan of him. Got a chance to watch him at practice last year before pandemic time hit, and he's a worker. He drives hard at practice. Excited to see what he can do, get in regular playing time on the field. And obviously Nafis Lyon had a big year last year, had some key takeaways, had a really good game on punt return. We'll see if he holds those duties going forward. And then most importantly for me is our free safety position, Ben DeLuca. Another key veteran leader, missed all of last year, injured. He actually got injured at the App State game, was able to retain a year of eligibility, and so we've got him back to help drive out that defensive senior leadership along with Tyreek Harris. Both of them obviously have been in the trenches, have seen the team grow, and know how to take us out and lead on the defensive side.
And it's pretty exciting for Ben DeLuca to have this comeback year, and something unexpected for him. He got hurt at App, and he gets to start right back there and kind of right that wrong, hopefully, and have a big game.
Yeah, he was looking really good at that App game too. Is a difficult player to go down in the middle of a heated battle against a tough team. So be interesting to see what he's able to do on the field this year. Being an old soul at this point for college age.
For sure, and it's nice to have some of that veteran leadership back there, as you mentioned. When you have like a Lance McMillan who, redshirt sophomore, really earned his stripes and got that awesome. Still, probably one of my favorite viral videos that the teams put out over the years is that Christmas Day you're on scholarship moment. So he like you said, one of the hardest workers, all freshmen, Conference USA, and I think he's going to have a really big year, and having, DeLuca out there and Lyons to kind of help him develop more. The sky's the limit for him.
One of the backs I forgot to mention too, Jason Fugate. Love him. Love the intensity he brought last year. I think we had a nice little press conference where he said, "Oh yeah, we're coming in to win." I loved it. I love the intensity he brings on the field too, so didn't mean to leave him out there, but he's a senior and certainly another veteran leader out on the field to help out the younger guys.
So Sean, I know we like to set expectations really hard for the coaches, and we like to take hot takes. So how many points per game is this defense going to be giving up?
Ooh, points per game, that's a tough one. Coming against some good offenses. Man, I think I'd be pretty happy if I was Marcus at keeping, under 21 regularly as the average for the season. A couple of those games are obviously going to go well over that. But I think the big statistic to look for is sacks. Marcus preaches sacks.
NASCAR, baby.
He loves getting home to the quarterback. Obviously was a big priority last year and one of the big reasons Alex Highsmith is now in the NFL. And I think we have a core around that can hold up the tough quarterback pressure that we had last year, and really make it difficult for QBs to feel comfortable in the pocket coming up against us.
Switching over to the offensive side, we've got a new offensive coordinator, was with the team last year, obviously one of Healy's main guys. Carney, his former coach at Richmond.
Back!
And our QB coach that did awesome with Chris Reynolds and moving up and well-deserved. Alex Atkins obviously moved over to FSU. Good luck to him. And, we lost Cam Clark, which is definitely, a hole, but we've got some grad transfers, some freshmen, some JUCO transfers at the guard. And then, of course, we got Jalen Fisher, who looks like he's going to be our third produced offensive lineman in the NFL, hopefully, fingers crossed. So
fingers crossed.
So I think the offensive line, it'll take a little bit of adjustment for them, but I don't see that big of a gap necessarily. I think that's going to be put together pretty well. What do you say, Sean? I know you're a fan of the line and kind of that fight down there.
Yeah, I love the trenches. It's tough to see Cam Clark leave, but excited to see him make it through Jets, 53-man roster cuts. He's there. He's in. He's ready for the season. So nice to see another offensive lineman in the NFL. Here's the only thing I see, and this has nothing to do with the players, and it's totally just conjecture, but Alex Atkins, obviously offensive lineman himself. So, he's probably putting a lot of emphasis on the line. Not saying that Mac isn't. Mac's a QB coach at heart, so he obviously knows the importance of offensive line. But that'll be interesting to see the difference there of how Mac goes about setting up offensive line, use some pulls for run blocking and all of that stuff in our new offensive scheme versus what Alex did last year.
For sure, and it'll be interesting to see, how different the offense becomes. Does it kind of stay the same with, I know Alex's main concern was getting 200, 250, 300 yards rushing. But we have a lot of talented wide receivers to go with our running backs. We could go 5 wide and chuck the ball, especially with Chris Reynolds really solidifying himself as the starting quarterback, as I predicted last year, despite Sean's
it's a new season, man. We don't need to bring it up. You did good. Super happy Chris Reynolds is the man and proved that he is the man on the field too. And we just move on to this year.
Fair enough. So, with that, Chris Reynolds, the clear number 1, we should see him chuck in. And App, again, was another great game. That was kind of his coming out party, I think, where he really solidified himself as the starter, was that game, and then kind of built on to that after.
I wouldn't say so. I know last year we went back and forth the first few weeks about Bacccckkkk and his ability to actually take the full starting job. I'm not going to say that that's the case here at all with Dom Schaffner, but I will say I feel like he's going to touch the field some. Bacccckk got used last year in some running plays, stuff like that. I think Schaffner will get some time on the field as well. Very similar offense. We're set up well to have 2 QBs at times where Schaffner can run in, give Reynolds a break, and get a couple yards on the ground, or maybe even throw a couple passes to throw the defense off of what they're looking for there.
Good take. And then on the running back side, we obviously lost Benny LeMay,
and I shot finger.
But Benny's with the Browns now with Ogunjobi, so that's exciting. Hopefully he makes that roster. I don't know if they've come out with the 53-man rosters. NFL, like, no preseason. It's just kind of hard to follow, yeah. But he definitely, was out there for practice and things, I think, at least a week ago. So
he's on the practice squad now. He got cut, but he's been signed to the practice squad.
That's good. So good for him. And, we still have got Aaron McAllister, who was a beast last year. And then we've got Trey Harbison, who's... Harbison. Apologize, Trey. We're going to get that right once you start
the disrespect.
I know. He transferred from Northern Illinois. I think he's like the 4th or 5th time all-time rusher in that program's history and was really good. So I think we can expect a lot from him. North Carolina kid coming home to get that last year of eligibility, and I think he picked the right program to do that with.
Yeah, this is another position that we really benefit from seeing Healy last year and how he likes to play the team. So it was similar to the quarterback position. Most teams love to have 2 running backs who can really lay it down. That way you can do change of pace, different down situations. Aaron McAllister obviously proved he deserves a spot on the field, and I would imagine he's going to continue to get a large portion of the carries. And in general, I know Alex is gone, and we're now on a Matt Carney offense, but I think Healy himself was big on run the ball too, so I would expect to see quite a few run-in plays in our playbook this year as well, especially with a good tandem like that. Difficult not to have the third back option of Ishod Finger around because he did really well in the times we called on him, but maybe a third person will emerge this year as well and give us that option on that front.
Now, probably the position where we're really just stacked in is wide receiver.
Stacked.
We got Victor Tucker, Cam Dollar, who were awesome last year. And then you've got Rico Arnold, who missed all of last season, who was our leading receiver the year before. So, pretty stacked squad with everyone else on top of that.
Tyler Ringwood too.
Who do you think is going to be the standout out of this group? Are we going to have someone like a Victor Tucker who kind of dominates and everyone else kind of falls in line, or do you think it's going to be more of a wide receiver by committee?
Good question. I think Big Vic is probably set up for a really good season again. You see it a lot of times in the NFL, but also in college too, where a QB gets a favorite wide receiver, and they had a lot of time last year to work out the kinks, throw up some really good plays, have some really exciting moments together. Rico missing that season, and obviously with Reynolds being his first year at the helm full time there, that there might not be that chemistry, especially with the way practices have had to go this year and not had quite as much ability to play the way you want to play all summer long. So I'm going to lean towards Victor, but I mean, with the number of options we have, I would imagine the ball gets spread around pretty well just to avoid allowing a team to double team someone and take out our offense. There's way too many good options here. I would vote that they're probably all destined for 20-plus catch seasons with some big numbers along the way, maybe several of them getting close to that 1,000-yard mark plus.
I mean, all I have to say is dollar bill, y'all. I think
you like Cam Dollar?
I think Cam Dollar is going to have a big year. He kind of started to really take advantage of the looks that Victor was getting. Once he established himself as our number one, you could see he was starting to get the best corner on him. He would get some double teams and some pressure at the line to make it a little tougher on him, which just opens it up for the rest of the crew. And I think Cam kind of got that experience and got those looks last year, and I think he's going to be hungrier and readier to get that. I'm taking the hot take. I think he is our leading wide receiver, even over Victor Tucker, with most catches and TDs.
That's fair. I won't disagree with you on that. I'll just say we talked about him quite a bit last year too, but the speed Michaelius Elder has is just unbelievable too. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw quite a bit of him on the field as well, especially on some deep routes. So he would be my dark horse in the race on that front, as not trying to pick one of the top couple there. I like Michaelius Elder a lot.
Do you expect anything from the tight end position? I know they're there. We normally use them as additional blockers. We wore very heavy running last year, not much of a catching or throwing to the tight end, especially when you have all these wide receivers and running backs that can catch. But do you expect anything special from the tight ends, or just kind of there to make a few catches here or there?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, not to undersell, not to say that catches is the only thing that matters, I guess is what I would say. The tight ends can be very beneficial in the blocking schemes, and just like the offensive line never really catches the ball but is a huge player in making sure that runs occur, tight ends, same thing. So I don't see them getting used much in the offense, especially with the wide receiver core that we have. But for sure, on run plays and mass protection related stuff, I would expect to see some of them used in those types of situations.
So switching gears before we get into the app preview, special teams was really probably the thing that separated us from being great to being solid, right? We went 7-6, great year, but I would say special teams may have cost us the app game. There might be another game or two in there that we could have been closer between kick returns, going for touchdowns, block punts, things like that. We did hire a new assistant, Charles Bankins. We'll see if that helps. And, let's go through a little bit of that. We still got Jonathan Cruz, who was the savior, before Healy got here, made that 56-yard game winner against FAU, to knock them out of contention for a bowl game 2 seasons ago. Did okay last year, but not as great as his freshman year. Do you think he has a big bounce back as a junior?
I do. I mean, I think okay is a good word for last year, just because Cruz was such a hot commodity the year before, and it's tough to keep that up all 4 seasons. He was solid last year. He was dependable. It wasn't like you would throw him out on the field and be afraid whether he was going to make it, which is more than you can say for a lot of college teams. So don't want to undersell the guy at all. Jonathan Cruz deserves a ton of respect. But But yeah, I think this year, if you want to call it a bounce back, I think he looks better this year. He got some big game moments last year that were put in difficult situations, like in the bowl game. He missed a field goal, but the wind, I was at the game, the wind was insane that day. So I wouldn't expect some of the best NFL kickers to be able to readily make kicks on that field at that time. But moments like that, he's probably hardest on himself. He's probably thinking, man, I should have had that. Even with the wind, I don't care. I should have been able to make it. And I think stuff like that really can make the next season great for someone, where they can come back and bounce and go even better than expectations are.
And then from a kick return, punt return perspective, listed on some of the depth charts I've seen, Aaron McAllister, Nafis Lyons is back to potentially do punt returns. Victor Tucker is listed there. Those are some of our big players. Do you expect them to play special teams and risk that, or do you think we're gonna develop someone else in that spot?
Good question. I mean, I think it's tough kick return wise. So Ishod Finger played a pretty big role last year in that. Aaron McAllister did quite a bit of return on that side, so I would expect for him to stay there. I mean, if you've got an experienced kick returner who has been able to do it the whole time, and you have depth at running back, it's hard to justify not using him in that front. And same with Nafis Lyon. I mean, he did the punt return duties last year, looked amazing, had some really good returns along the way. So really hard to not use him in that capacity. But like you mentioned, I mean, cornerback is definitely a spot where you wouldn't want to necessarily give away your depth by getting injured on other plays. So I wouldn't be surprised if one of the young players who had a lot of speed maybe got some chances there throughout the season.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I think if we have to put the veterans in there and just avoid mistakes, I think that's fine. But it'll be good to see how we execute on special teams. Like we said, it's one of our weaknesses. But moving on, we've kind of talked about the roster, giving you a little taste. Let's talk about the games. The weird makeshift schedule that Mike Hill has developed here in COVID times has been awesome. And what a great way to kick off the season, which obviously was not planned 6 months ago. Going back to App State, who pre-ranking I think was top 25 in some capacity, some polls. So let's talk about App State versus Charlotte this Saturday, 12 o'clock, ESPN2. So getting that national televised kickoff, which is real nice. And similar to last year, we're pretty big underdogs. No fans, I believe, are going to be in attendance.
Nope.
And the line for the game is App State is favored by 17. I believe last year was 23.5, and we definitely covered that. And then the over-under for the game is 62.5, and I think last year we between the two of us, we came pretty close, if not over 100 points total.
Yep.
So, Sean, App Charlotte, rematch from last year, empty stadium. What do you think?
Well, most importantly, I think the big thing to highlight here is that this line opened at 20 or 21, depending on the book. So seeing it now at 17, that's a pretty big swing there. And I know App State had a player opt out of the season who was a pretty big part of their team there. So that may have affected it. It may have also just been, the announcement of no fans causing sharp bettors to pull the line in some. A lot of times crowd noise, especially in college, can make a big difference there. So I like the line. I like that it moved towards us. I think 17's a reasonable, especially looking at last year. It's the first game of the season. Neither team has really gotten, the full experience of practice, summer, spring, all of that stuff. And so both teams are playing from a disadvantage on that point, but I think that leads in our favor to be able to come out and surprise some people.
Absolutely. And obviously the lines at the beginning of the season normally are the best or worst times to get after it because no one really knows, right? App beat Michigan, who was ranked top 5, and we saw that Michigan team wasn't really that good despite what they like to talk about with it. So I agree with you. I think that is a lock at 17, and I would consider the money line because I think another important thing that App's missing is your favorite Dorkowitz left the team. So not only are they dealing with this COVID situation, but they're dealing with a whole new coach.
Yeah, a new coach with a lot of experience at App State, and honestly, from my opinion, not to get into analyzing other teams, but I feel like that was a bad hire. Just as an outside party, you take a lesser-known commodity after you've had a couple really good coaches come through and bump up to the next tier very quickly in succession, and kind of go back. It's almost like the girl who got hurt a few too many times by a guy and is now playing it safe type thing. That they took a safe bet that is a guy who's going to stay around for a while, and they're really hoping he's going to be a good coach. And I don't know if I see that. I think that might have been a bad call on their front.
Yeah, well, I agree, and that's why, like I said, Charlotte a lock was 17, and honestly, I think we might even beat them by 17. I think we surprise some people with this game, and we kick off the season the way we all hope, and that's a big Charlotte W before we get to play App again in, 2029 is the next scheduled game?
2030.
2030. Thank you.
Yeah. So last year, I had the distinct pleasure of yelling at you quite a few times for being a Debbie Downer on games. I think here's your perfect chance here. I'm going to give us some analytic credibility on the street and say I can't possibly justify betting the money line on this front and picking Charlotte to win. I do think the 17 cover is an interesting play, but even that I'm a little scared of. I think I would have enjoyed it if it was still up in the 20 range there to lock it in on Charlotte. But I do think that 17 line is actually a pretty good one for neither team having a game in the books yet this year. I like that line. I like Charlotte to cover and maybe be closer to a 14-point spread here.
And what do you think about the 62.5? As we saw
for sure.
The first week of football wasn't too eventful. We saw one of our conference foes, Marshall, dominate. I believe it was Eastern Kentucky, 59-0. So yeah. I don't know if some teams are looking more ready to roll and some aren't. 62.5. Yeah, it seems like a lock at the over, but that seems like a trap to me. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I think if anything, we're both set up for scoring, just like last year. I mean, I would think if anything, our defense is a little stagnant to start with on both sides, more so than the offense.
Cool. So you heard it here first. I'm picking a win. Sean's picking a cover. So either way, should be somewhat exciting and hopefully not a blowout as we play App this Saturday. Very excited about that game, and we'll be back with you for post-mortem of that game and a preview to the following week, which let's go through the schedule real high level and get a take. Again, this is hopeful that all these games do take place, whether they're rescheduled or actually happen. We'll see. We've got 11 on the books. Let's hope that we play through this pandemic and things get better. So another game that was not on the books that, again, Mike Hill pulled out of his magic bag of tricks, Charlotte at Chapel Hill, Saturday, 9/19. That'll be on local TV somewhere. I'm sure we'll find that. But, Sean, Charlotte, Chapel Hill also top 25 team with Mac Brown this year.
Yeah, and before we talk about the game, give Mike his due, because, I mean, the App State game, that's a great game, but App State's schedule fell apart. They lost all their non-conference games, so getting that game on the books probably just took some scheduling agreement. But the ACC, being a Power 5 conference, had the rule that teams were only allowed to have one non-conference game. So Mike going out, making the play to get Chapel Hill to choose us for their non-conference game and getting Duke to keep us as their non-conference game, I mean, that's great ADing right there. I love it.
For sure. And just one more point to that, which I really like to, poke the bear, because I dislike them very much after our coaching fiasco a year or two ago, which obviously worked out well for us with Healy. But I think Chapel Hill was really choosing between us or ECU, and they chose us, which shows you where our program's heading and where theirs is.
Yeah, I mean, some people might make the argument that the Power 5 schools would pick us for the easy win in their schedule, but I really don't think that's the case, especially this season. I think that with the limited schedule and the uncertainty of the games being around, that people are really going to be looking to have a solid strength of schedule so that when the end of the year comes around, I mean, this for Power 5 schools, this is probably the best opportunity you're going to get to be outside of Alabama, Clemson, Oklahoma, Ohio State to actually be in the national championship running. So I think some schools, especially like at Chapel Hill, who's flirting with top 25 to start the season off, are interested in having a solid year and not having just the easy win on the books.
Well, and you also have to look at how we've handled this pandemic so far and the leadership up top again with under a 1% positivity COVID tests within the athletic department. You got to feel good if you're another school trying to play us that we're taking this very seriously and we're not going to be the ones hopefully that get your team sick.
Yep. So I'm guessing we're not going to dive into Chapel Hill since we can do that next week. So just high level, is that a W or an L on the books for us?
That's definitely an L.
That's an L? Okay. All right.
What do you think?
I just don't trust Mac Brown. Everybody loves him, but he's so old and I don't know. The team last year didn't play up to its expectations, and I'm not saying that its expectations aren't above Conference USA play because they probably are, but I don't know. I'd like to withhold my vote until next week after I get a little information on how our team's playing and how Chapel Hill's playing.
That's fair. I think the only chance we win is if it's a dance-off between Mac Brown and Healy. Sure. Even though I think that would be a battle too, because I'm not saying Healy's great either. But otherwise, I don't think Club Lit will be open at Chapel Hill. Georgia State, that's Game 3. That's our first home game, which also has already been announced will not have fans. We've played Georgia State pretty much since we started. I believe they're pretty similar feel as us. They, of course, seem to own App every time App gets ranked.
And it's 1-1 all time between the two of us from Georgia State.
So we got a good relationship with them. I think we get the win there, first home game in front of none of the fans. I think we work well there.
I think we get the W too. And important to note too that that's the one non-conference thing that stayed the same on our schedule for the season.
So then we go into some of our conference play, and we have Florida Atlantic the week after at Florida Atlantic. They just lost their coach, Lane Kiffin, went to Ole Miss.
2-3 all time against them. I'm liking a W on that front.
All right, so I do as well. So we'll go by my rating since you did not pick the Chapel Hill game, and I have us at 3-1 going to North Texas the week after. Lots of road games too, so I want everyone to remember that we have 7 road games, 4 games at home. So it's a tough schedule for sure.
Yeah, North Texas was one of the favorites last season for Conference USA. Should have another good team this year, so that'll be a tough game for sure.
Yeah, I have that as a loss.
Yeah.
And then we've got FIU at home. I have that also as a loss. Any
That's
thoughts?
a tough one.
Yeah, that'll be a tough game.
I like the W. We've never beaten them. That's five losses in a row to them. I like this year to be our year on that one.
I like it. Well, I have us at 500 going into UTEP coming to town. I think we get the win there to get to 4-3.
Oh, yeah. If we don't beat UTEP, we're in trouble.
And then we've got the Duke game that originally was supposed to happen on a Thursday night that, as you said, Mike Hill was able to keep that on the schedule with Duke. We have them on Halloween, so that'll be fun. Duke's also kind of a sneaky, decent team in the ACC. Danny Dimes, one of my favorites, came from there.
He's not there anymore, though.
Yeah, he's with the best football team in the country, in the world,
Boo.
the New York Giants. I think we can be competitive there, and I think that's more of a coin toss than Chapel Hill. I don't expect a win, but I'd like a win. So I will go with – I'll throw it out there. I'll give us the win, put us at 5-3 according to my calculations because I think it's going to get rough from there. Thoughts on the Duke game?
Yeah, I think it's probably an L on the books for us, a little trick or treat, and we get the trick instead of the treat. But Um, we'll see how it goes. Ask me again closer to the middle of the season.
Sure. So then we're at Middle Tennessee.
Yep.
I think that's probably a loss, but and
I'm gonna
especially
go. I'm gonna go win.
yeah. And it'll be interesting, like you said, as we get closer to the middle of the season, if these home games don't have fans. I mean, how much of a home game is it? Sure, we have to travel and do all of those things that are probably going to be even weirder in the current time. But if they
Yep.
start loading fans, even if it's 10, 20%, that still makes somewhat of a difference. So it'll be interesting to see how these later games play out on there. The
Yep.
week after, we've got Marshall, who looked.
Well, hold on. I
Yeah.
want to say a few things about Middle Tennessee because everybody's got their teams that they just hate, and Middle Tennessee is one of those teams for me in Conference USA. I cannot stand them. I didn't like the way they played us last year, even though we eked out the win 34-20. I still thought that they were a little overly intense and a little extracurricular on the field, which I wasn't loving. But, you go all the way back to the first time we played them back in our first year in Conference USA, 73-14. That was just miserable to watch. It really hurt. They were just destroying us and did not take their foot off the pedal for a long time. So they've got a long-standing hate in my heart, and we finally cracked the winning column last year against them with Healy around. Before that, it was 4 losses in a row. I would like for us to continue that W, just so Sean doesn't have to go back to hating Middle Tennessee so hard.
That's fair. So you got them as a win. I got them as a loss. Then game 10, we're at Marshall. Marshall, like I said, looked really good this weekend. Their freshman quarterback, or first start, he looked pretty awesome. He threw 4 TDs, I think, in the first half. I don't feel great about that game, but we'll see. I'll pencil that in as a loss and hope for the best.
Yeah, Marshall's always a tough one. Obviously, we took care of business last year, 24-13. That was a fun game to be at. It was a tough win for us, but a really important win for our season and being bowl eligible there. And I'm kind of with you. I think this year that may be a really tough one to pull out. Probably an L in the column.
And then the last game of the season at home, right after Thanksgiving, we've got Western Kentucky. I have us as a win to end the season and hopefully be bowl eligible if all things equal out.
Yeah, I like that too. Last year they took it from us. The year before, though, we really punched them in the face when they were having a good season. And last year I think they had a little grudge and a little chip on their shoulders when they played us. But I really like our odds this year. I think that's a W at least coming into the season in my books.
Awesome. So I have the team at 6-5. We'll see if that works out. That would make us bowl eligible. What do you got, Sean? I think you were about 500 as well, but you couldn't take you wouldn't make a pick on a few of the big ones with those ACC teams as you want to see how the team does. But we're looking at another solid season. Maybe we'll surprise some people and win a few more. Hopefully not lose a few more and get our second bowl game and go into a normal fun season. Hopefully in 2021. Where we really can make some noise and maybe go undefeated.
Yeah, I'm with you. When you add up the totals, I mean, I think where the wins come, maybe in a couple different places, depending on how the first few weeks go. But I like the 6-5-ish area there, just over 500. Bowl eligible. Be interesting to see how bowl eligibility and bowl games in general work this season with the pandemic stuff around. But I do like that. Most of the preseason polls I saw had us closer in the 2 to 3 win range, which I felt was a big disrespect against last year. Not really sure what people are looking at. I mean, maybe they just saw Alex Highsmith graduated and now what are we going to do? But I mean, our whole offense is still stacked and returning, as we talked about, and our defense is actually, in my opinion, as a whole solider this year than they were last year. So I'm not seeing any way that we don't get close to that 500 mark and hopefully over it.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's hope that, all these games take place, that everyone stays healthy, and, we don't have any weird COVID issues. I'm still curious how that's going to play out. I've seen in the NFL they have like practice squad people that are going to be in different states just in case. So it'll be interesting to see how we manage that depth and things like that as well, just in case any kind of outbreak does happen. So it'll be a really weird year, and coaching's going to be huge. Training people, not putting them out there too much, and also being strategic about who travels with the team and things like that. So fun year for sure. We look forward to it, and hopefully everything goes on without a hitch, and we win some football games. Any last hot takes from you, Sean?
I think those were the hottest of takes. This is going to be a weird year. It's going to be a fun ride. Hopefully all of the games occur. Hopefully at some point there's some fans around. We'll see how that goes as we get towards the October timeframe, November timeframe. But as long as we play our 11 games and get to actually see football for the next few months, I'm going to be happy.
Absolutely. Me as well. And what will make me happier is a lot of 49er wins. So with all that said, remember to keep listening to Minor Obsession. We come out on Tuesdays. We'll give you all the football coverage you need and other sports and interviews when they happen. And remember to always wear green.
And go Niners.